You're welcome to this class. Today's class will be on Dojo. And like Dojo is on the version 1.0 Alpha 9. But yeah, let's get into it. So Dojo is a community-driven open source framework for building provable games and other applications. You'll see a couple of all this, icons here. So there's a couple of tool sets that come with Dojo. Sozo is one, Katana, Tori, and Origami. And we'll talk more in details in the class about this, and I'll show you practical examples. But just think about this as like a framework. If you all are familiar with like Next.js and React relationship, so like Next.js is a framework of React that helps you build production ready, front-end applications or full stack applications in some cases. Dojo is a framework on Cairo that helps you build games. So it helps you build games faster. So instead of you having to like do a lot of all the manual process or a lot of things that is involved in game development, it abstracts a lot of this for you, and just like you don't have to build an indexer because they have Tori, which is an automatic indexer. Um, and then there's like, Sozo is it's a package manager similar to Scarp. So if you're already, have Cairo development environment set up on your computer, you already have Scarp. Sozo is a similar tool chain, so you can use to initialize your application. You can use to declare, deploy, build your applications, and so much more. Then there's also like slot and other tool set kits that are built to improve the user experience of like, the games that a developer is gonna build. But before I go in depth, let me just explain what provable games and on-chain games are. So provable games are designed on zk-VMs. So they are games that are built on top of the zero knowledge virtual machines. And if you're, I mean, we've been talking about Cairo a lot, or Starknet. Starknet uses zk-VM called Cairo VM. But yeah, provable games are built on zk-VMs, and the execution can be verified, enabling client-side gaming. So this will make more sense when you see on-chain games, but again, just think about provable games. The transactions can be executed on a browser or a sequencer, a smaller sequencer. There's a new tool kit that has been built. It's called Sire. Again, all this might not make sense because these are new information being exposed to you, but you can go into more details on it. But anyways, provable games execution can be on the browser, and then get verification that can be sent to a public blockchain. Why fully on-chain games? It's like fully on-chain games, both state and logic reside entirely on a public blockchain. So in this case, we say, the execution can be on the browser, and then the proof can be sent off of verification of public blockchain. When this case of fully on-chain games, all the state and the logic reside on the blockchain, and the execution is on the blockchain. I would think about provable games as like a way to scale on chain games, but again, we're going to dig deeper into it as we go on. But again, play. So before we go on to Dojo, let's just quickly do a recap on like play or games in general. So play is constant. So like since I guess dawn of time, every civilizations have their own different type of games. There's like dice, chess, and then more advanced games like Counter-Strike or Call of Duty, Clash of Clans, and so much more. But there's one thing that also concerns like evolution. Like play is also evolving, and um, we see something like Dark Forest, which kind of gave birth to on-chain game. So it's like one of the first on-chain games. It used snacks for hidden information. But another benefit is like the open game interface. It builds a plugin ecosystem and emergent UI. So what this just means is that, developers can extend, the type of game you're playing. So if you like this game, but you feel like there's new features that can, be included, you can build this and like just bake it into the game. And this kind of like gave birth to the industry of on-chain gaming. although it's still a emergent industry, but it's a very interesting industry. Okay, so why? So why do we care? So if you all have played some games in the past that you liked, but for some reason, they stopped producing the game and the game stopped. So this is kind of what gave birth to this this idea in the first place. So, a player was playing this game, and his in-game asset that he probably spent a lot of money, to purchase, got nerfed, and he went ahead to build what we know today as Ethereum, right? It's a blockchain that we all at least have come across once or twice or use a lot. But anyways, it just brought about like, we want like a more permissionless ecosystem where, it gives birth to like true ownership. So it's like I own my asset. Why can I not use it for whatever, I want? Like I have this game, let's just say I'm a Fortnite player, I like playing Fortnite, and I have a lot of skins. If I truly own my skin and my friend is like new to the game, I should be able to like send him my skin. But in this current system, that's not the case, right? You have to buy another one, but it's like, I'm not using it. I want to send it to my friend. But, this current system doesn't enable that kind of thing. But with fully on-chain games, you can, have true ownership. So you can use your assets however you like. If you want to send it to your friend, you can. If you want to build custom logic, or even if you want to modify it to your taste, you can. And this is kind of like one reason why a lot of people are pushing for fully on-chain game. It's still again an emerging field, but it's slowly going traction. Again, it enables composability and mod. So it has shared state, open APIs, and some of the best game in history are mods of like originals. Like Dota is a mod, Counter-Strike is a mod, and a lot of people play it a lot. It's even more popular than the original game because it's, I guess, people modified it and made it more interesting. And there's new business models that can be built on top of it, like endless games, so atomic payouts, games as protocols, and this week talking about autonomous world. But other examples are like Loot Survivor client, which is actually on Starknet, and Dark Forest client plugin. So for the Loot Survivor client, right? This is a game that when you play the game, you pay a base fee, but this fee is split among different players. So it's like number one player gets a cut, number two gets a cut, number three gets a cut, like the client provider. So someone that's decided to like modify the client also gets paid if his client is being used, and the creator. And the funny thing is like even the current client for Loot Survivor, which is a relatively popular game on Starknet, was modified by a player. So the player kind of like enjoyed playing the game and he decided to build an extension, right? Okay, I can improve this game. So he built an improvement, and a lot of people started playing on his client, and he was getting rewarded for it. Again, these are things that are uniquely enabled on, on-chain games, because again, you can write this in the contract, that okay, reward this person for this, and you don't even have to, um, it's permissionless. It's more permissionless for you to do the modification. But yeah, also Dark Forest, a lot of people decided to build extensions or plugins in this case for Dark Forest, and it was kind of gaining more, more traction. And this is why we even got here. So I'm going to show you examples of on-chain game, and then we'll get back to like Dojo. But before that, I want to see if there's any question. Does anybody have any questions so far? Or am I moving too fast if you want me to slow down? Are there questions? I don't see any question. Okay, so I'm going to continue. Okay, so what are examples of on-chain games? So like short experience, so roguelike. There's session-based games with stakes. So there's like RTS games, CIVS, like board games. Autonomous words, the persistence and forever evolving. So short experience is so like games that take less than like 30 minutes to play, low cost, easy to pick up and play, roguelikeness, daily puzzle, this like baked-in token loops. And this is something that probably will be encouraged if you want to kind of go into game development, on-chain game development on Starknet. Oh, yeah. You should probably start like, with like short experience games instead of like looking for like really complex games to build and then you get stuck because, you don't have much experience, building games and it's still an emerging field. So these are kind of like, again, maybe easy puzzle games. And I'll show you examples of something like that. Loot Survivor is one, like Paved is one. So this is Paved. You come daily and play puzzles. And yeah, you get rewarded for this. This same thing with like roll your own too. This is Dope Wars. These are example of short experience games on Starknet. Again, in the long term. So these games have like high potential in the long term because they can still attract other people to come like, experience with this and you don't have to invest a lot to kind of like get started with this one. Okay, then we show you another example of the ones that are greater than 30 minutes. So Ethereum is one. They actually did a play test about probably like 2 weeks ago. I made a video of this. These are games that like they take a while to play. This one you don't even have to be actively playing a game. But these games kind of like experiment or push the limit of what can be done on-chain games and like experimenting with different economics on-chain gaming. But yeah, I would encourage that if people want to kind of look into on-chain games, this will be like examples you should check out and just kind of draw inspiration from. And another beautiful thing is that the code is open source, right? So you can always kind of look into it. And it would even help you get better as a Cairo developer in general, because you can see example of code and kind of see how other developers are building their stuff, and then you can move from there. Okay, then I'm going to go back to Dojo because this is what the class is about. Dojo was built to enable the creation of on-chain games and provable games. It's an end-to-end toolkit for building provable applications using Starknet. So again, this I compared it with like Next.js and React, but yeah, it was built to enable quick iteration of on-chain games or provable games. But it's slowly getting into that you can use Dojo to actually build full stack dApps. So again, because it gives you an automatic indexer out of the box, you can build an application and you don't have to worry about creating your own indexer. And it just helps you kind of like, iterate fast from idea to like at least a prototype. And this is what it is. Okay, so why Dojo? So Dojo is built to standardize the developer experience of building on-chain games. Again, as easier establishment of on-chain game state file models, and we're going to talk about models, and I'll show you this. And then it comes with a lot of developer tooling, and it's increasingly growing number too. Again, it minimizes boilerplate code. So how does Dojo work? Dojo is built to extend Cairo compiler. So you inject macros and create a standard for storing state, more like an ORM. So if you've been into programming or you've used a couple of databases, you should have heard of this term before. Again, all state is stored in a world contract, and Dojo contract mutates the state. So this is an example high-level architecture of like a Dojo. They have the world. This is the contract that mutates the state. The state is the model, and again, this model is stored in the world, and the contract mutates the world. Again, the world provides the interface for on-chain world. Okay, so yeah, so world, it provides interface for the on-chain world. It's designed for composability and extendability. Registers models that extend storage. Deploys contracts that extend logic and manage access control. Again, this would probably make more sense when you're, using it practically. And I'll show you an example today in class. But again, this is what a model looks like. So if you all have been working on like Stark lanes, you should be familiar with struct. So you say again, a model is on-chain structured DB with a key value star. But you would see that, okay, in the struct, this is how you define the model. You get a struct, but you put in the macro Dojo model. This is new. This is what is part of the extension that Dojo provides to Cairo. So you put in this model in a struct, and then you also need to define a key. So you can query the data of in the model using a key here. So this is the key, and then this other values in the struct. But yeah, and then we have a get macro. So this is kind of like querying the model. So you have a get macro, you see how it is used here, the world, and then the key that we defined here. I think this is still most, okay, yeah. And you put in the key, and then you put in the model that you want to query. Also set, this is for updating the value. Again, set world, and then you put in the model that you want to update. And then Dojo contract. So Dojo contract are same as Starknet contract plus injected property. Dojo contract act as logic in your game and similar to ECS. So this is an example of how Dojo contract looks like. It's really similar to like a Starknet contract. So it's instead of like on Starknet, you have like a Starknet contract. In this case, you have a Dojo contract. And then again, the same way you wrap it around the model. Give me a second. Okay, yeah, you wrap it around the model. So again, you import these external libraries here. And in this case, this one is Dojo example, which is importing your models here. And then you have like a function here that's, you getting the color address, and then you setting, so you're updating the value of this model, which is the move model or the position model in this case. Let me see if there's any question. Is there any question at this time, or are you all still following? Any question? All right, I'll continue. I still don't see a question. Okay, so these are some of the two chains that are kind of like coupled in Dojo. How you install it, you just use a curl, and then you run Dojo up. But also you can use ASDF. I did not include it here, but you can use ASDF to install Dojo. So like how you install Scarb and maybe Starknet Foundry, you can use ASDF to install Dojo, which I'm going to show you an example of in a bit, and then show you like these other two chains. So again, this is Sozo. Again, like I said, you can use it to like manage accounts. You can use it to build, create a new project. So you can run a migration for like declaring the contract and deploying the contract. So if you remember how Starknet works, like when you write a contract, you build it, you declare it first, and then which creates like a blueprint, and then you deploy it. So this is what you use for managing that with Dojo. And then like there's other two the other functions you can use here, right? Like calling or executing. So it's like interacting with the world. But yeah, this is what Sozo is. We're going to play a bit with it today. Tori, which is an automatic indexer. So it allows you to automatically index your models via choice of SQL or Postgres. Rust clients with cross-language. So it's a Rust client with cross-language bindings. So you can use JavaScript to interact with it. You can use C#, C++, Rust, of course, too. But yeah, this is kind of Tori for automatic indexing. And this is what the GraphQL this is what the GraphQL endpoint will look like. So this is necessary for interacting with a Dojo contract from your front end. And then Katana is like, it's a local blazing fast DevNet. So as some of you would have probably, or everybody should have deployed to Sepolia, right? So Sepolia is the official testnet for, writing a Starknet contract. But Dojo comes with a tool called Katana, which allows you to quickly test your application. So it's like, instead of you having to like declare and deploy to Starknet, you can, your local environment and does it in a faster way. So this is something you're going to use a lot if you are, building on-chain games. But even if you are just building applications, this also can come in handy. Again, fast to run and fast to destroy. So it's kind of like you can spin up your own local Katana and kind of like play with it as much as possible. So test your application, and you don't want to worry about, I need to go find Sepolia, eat. This comes with its own. So it's, again, gets you testing very fast. And then there's Origami, which is like a Dojo game library. any common pattern to pull into your game. So it has a lot of tool sets or again usable libraries that you can use. I know there's like Pathfinder, so if you're trying to like build a game that requires Pathfinder, instead of you having to rebuild this logic, you can just reuse code from this library in your application, and then bring your own client. So again, you can use multiple different clients. There's the Dojo.js that you can use for building like, if you want to use Phaser, which is a gaming engine, or if you want to use React, you can use the Dojo.js on that. There's the Unity library. So if you want to build like a Unity game, and you want to use Dojo for the on-chain element, you can use that. You can, use C, and they are working on Godot and I think Unreal Engine also. So I think the support for Unreal Engine should be coming in a couple of weeks or months, where you can use Unreal Engine on Dojo. But yeah, we can go and check like a practical example of Dojo, yeah. But before we go to practical example again, is there any question? Just gotta check again. I don't see anybody asking questions. Is it that everybody understands what I've been saying? Someone unmuted? Okay, just let me know if you're following. Can someone just say, oh, yes, I'm following, so I can know that, you're following. But again, if you don't, it's okay if you don't fully understand it. I'm about to kind of like show you some practical examples. Maybe that will help you. Okay. Oops, says she's following. Okay. All right. So I'm going to open the Dojo book. Give me a second. So this is Dojo book, which give you an overview of like getting started. I said you can install like Dojo toolkit with running this command, but I like using ASDF. So I'll just open my terminal, yeah. So which term? Clear, then I'll do a CD. Just go to my I've got a document and I'll see right there. Okay, so if you all have ASDF installed, I'm assuming a lot of you all do. We talked about in the previous class. You can just do a ASDF install and then do a Dojo. Oh, you need to do a plugin add first. So you need to, add the plugin, and then you install Dojo. But this is the latest version, so you just do like, I already have it installed. But if you don't, I think the command for adding a plugin would be ASDF plugin add and the name. So in this case, be ASDF plugin add Dojo, but I already have that too. So it's just gonna update it and say we already added. And then you do a ASDF install on Dojo, and again, I already have it installed, so I don't need to install it. But again, I'm just gonna move this example away from here. Second. Right. Okay. Can you still see my screen? Okay, awesome. So yeah, this is where you go to the documentation, the Dojo documentation, and then you can just click get started, and it gives you like an high level overview of, why am I going back, and what Dojo is. So again, you just read it, but again, it's a framework or a tool chain for building on-chain applications fast. But again, it's specific to gaming. They have a tutorial, yeah, which you can go over. So it's just like Sozo init Dojo starter. So this is how you kind of like bootstrap the first application. So I just say Sozo init Dojo starter. You can call it whatever. So you could find template version in the test version instead. Okay, so it did install it. So if we do ls, you'll see it, but I'm just going to open my text editor so you all can see what it looks like. So this is Sozo start init, and it gives you, I don't know if you can see my screen clearly. I'm using a white editor. I heard this will be better. Can someone say yes if they can see this clearly? Or if I should change it to a black theme?
Yeah, it's visible. It's visible.
Okay, awesome. All right, I'm still going to just increase it. But yeah, so again, like any Cairo application, it comes with like a scarp.toml and got a source. So in this place, the scarp.toml gives you like the package information. So Cairo version. So Sozo uses or Dojo uses Cairo 2.7.0, and this is the name. You can change the name, but remember that if you have the name here, you have to kind of like modify like your imports. Yeah, in this case, we said so Dojo startup. We have to rename it to the name of the application. Let's try it and see if it builds. So if we do Sozo build right now, this is one of the commands from Sozo. It should build the application well and generate a target file, which it is. It already generated the target file, so this compilation should be done. So it's done. So it creates a target file for us and puts it in the dev. And we'll tell you why this is in a minute. But yeah, if we change the name now, because again, this is the name of our application, let's just change it to like Dojo class or whatever. And we try to build again, it's not going to build because the name is Dojo class, but it's supposed to be underscore. But it's still not going to build because we are importing some other things. So yeah, it fails until we just rename it. So I'm just going to just do a find all and just rename Dojo starter to a Dojo class because that's the name we are trying to use now. Okay, so this should do. So now if we do a Sozo build, this should work. And what I did was just rename like this Dojo starter to Dojo class or whatever name we want to call it. And that should work. But if we want to see more information on Sozo, so we can just do a Sozo help and it should tell you all what Sozo can do, right? So it says Sozo, and these are the commands. So accounts for managing accounts, key store for managing key store. And you probably need to set all this up before your application, is working properly. Then there's the build, there's the init to create a new project. We run that. A clean to remove generated artifacts, manifest, and ABIs. Again, ABIs are just application binary interface, and this will be necessary for interacting with front end. And there's a Sozo migrates, again, I said you're going to use this for declaring and deploying your application. We're going to try that example so you can see how that works. Execute is to like call the functions here, and we're going to try most of the things. But yeah, this is what it is. If you want to learn more about it, again, you want to use the documentation that we opened earlier. This documentation will kind of like walk you through it. I will encourage everybody to go through the 15 minutes. It takes less than 15 minutes to go through it, right? So it just shows you the anatomy of a Dojo project. You have the scarp.toml, you have the Dojo dev, Dojo release, and these are just, you would see I'm going to explain what they're used for in a minute. And this is like a source where you put in. So this is just unique to this start application. You don't necessarily have to put your model as like, in the same level as inside your source directory. You can create a folder for it and put your model on the side. But again, this is just like the structure of how it looks like. And then again, we talked about models. I already showed you an example of how models look like, but you'll see how it looks like here a little bit more. So these are just the different models that have been created. But again, one thing that you see that is unique to every model is that it has a key, right? So this move model has a key, and this is the key for querying the move model. This direction available as a key too. Again, it's a struct, and it uses this model macro. And then there's the position, and then there's direction. But you would see that it also allows you to use enums. So you see these enums. But the one thing, if you're using enums, in Dojo, you need to put this introspect. You need to put the introspect and drive macro for it to be registered. So we have this direction, and we're using it here in the array, but we need to have introspect inside it. And this documentation talks about it, in more detail. So if you want to get kind of like, more hands-on, follow this guide, and it should help you. And then there's like the overlay. So like we said, the Dojo world like grants permission on who can write and read from the state, and you need to kind of like set an overlay in this case and put in so this is a unique, well, it's a relatively new thing that was created, namespace. So in this namespace, we are saying the Dojo class namespace action. So we're granting these models granting this namespace right access to this model. So again, you'll see Dojo class, which is a namespace, hyphen action. And action is the system here. So this system is named action. And we are giving the Dojo class namespace ability to write into this model. So write into the move model, position model, and direction available. And I mean, it is being used here. But we'll try to go a bit into that later. But anyways, I'll still quickly touch upon Katana. So again, I said it's the dev environment for using Dojo. So again, after we run Sozo build to build contract, our Dojo contract here, we need to run Katana, yeah. So it's running. So we need to run Katana, which is Katana command. And Katana comes when you install Dojo. When you install the Dojo toolkit, it comes with Katana. So again, Dojo disable fee and then allow origin X star. And then it's spin ups a local development environment. Again, think of it as Sepolia, having your own local test environment. So your own local Sepolia. Yeah. And it creates multiple accounts for you, gives you the account and private key. I would say, you're supposed to be worried about allowing your private key leaked publicly, but again, this is a test net. It doesn't really matter. But again, you probably want to keep it private. But again, these accounts are already pre-loaded with funds for you to like test your application. But we'll leave this running, and then we'll put a new terminal, and then we do the Sozo migrate apply. Again, remember this is for kind of like declaring and deploying your contract. So we run it Sozo migrate apply, and then it says that it's deploying to Katana, and it's kind of deploying it. While it's deploying it, we can see in this place we have the URL, which is local 5050, which is where the Katana was deployed to. So when we created a Katana instance, it created it and exposed it to localhost 5050. I'm not sure if it says it here, but you see in this place like 5050. So this is where the RPC is running, and set up here. You put accounts and private key, and yeah, we are deploying and declaring it right now. It's running. And you see here it says authorizing system based on overlay. So we're granting access to again the action to modify the models. And we have the mode model, yeah, the position model and direction available. Yeah, this has been done. So we want to again index it. So for us to index it, we just need to run this command through world and then the address. So the address of the contract that was deployed. So in this case, we can check the address here. So the word was deployed to this address. So we just put the address here. And then the indexer is working too. And it's exposed on port 8080. So if we copy this endpoint and we go to our browser, I think we have to put it on localhost. Okay, so this is true that Tori is running. So we have a Tori server running. So we can go to our GraphQL endpoint now, and then we can query it. So we can just copy this, put it on our GraphQL endpoint. So it should spin up GraphQL endpoint. If we copy this, it should start reading data from there. And then we can try to even execute. So we can Let me see what's here. So we can use Sozo execute command, and then we call this. I'm gonna go to the overlay, Dojo action. Then we can call a command like spawn. Is everyone still following, or did I lose someone? Okay, spawn. So again, we just try to execute a function in this contract, which is spawn. And a second, I'm just going to try to run this. Did not write. Right. Could not find word address. Please specify the word address in the environment. Okay, give me a second. So in this place, we need to put in the word address. It's quite in here. Are you all done? Oh, okay. Okay, so this contract execution worked, and we can confirm that from the GraphQL endpoint if we query it again. Give me a second. Are you all still following? Okay, I'm just gonna. Okay, awesome. All right. Okay, I'm going to try to explain the contract a little bit. So again, we have the models where we again define the state of our game. So we have a move here, we have direction available, we have position model and direction model, vec, and and we can also implement this model, these models. So we have E0, we write a function to call this if the vec is 0 or if vec is equal. And then there's a test here, and then we go into the action. And this we import the models that we want to use here. And then every contract, also similar to like a Starknet contract, every Dojo contract needs an interface, right? So we have a spawn here, we have a move interface, and then we have a Dojo contract here, and then we have the mod action, which is kind of like here we implement the contract, and then we import the interface here. Then we get this contract address and caller address here, and then from the Dojo class, we import the models that we need here. And then we can also declare custom events. So automatically, if you call a function or if the state changes in Dojo, of event is emitted. But if you want a custom event also, you can also define your custom event here. And this is what is in here. And then it also uses, again, API embed v0. So it just says that the functions in here are going to be they are public, so you can call it public. And then there is the spawn. So this is just kind of like spawning into the world. You would see, again, it doesn't take any parameter, but you need to have a ref world, world dispatcher, passed in to like every contract function in Dojo. So you have to spawn, and then you're getting the address here, getting position, and then you're updating the state. So again, if we call the spawn, it's because we're already running the indexer. The indexer is listening to it. Oh, give me a second. And it's automatically updating that we did make a function call. If we call a function here, this is listening and it should update. So it says 0 seconds ago that updated. So it updates it. And again, this is what is going to be used on the front end when you're kind of integrating with the game. And then, yeah, you also have a move function here, but it's pretty much the same thing. But in this case, you're going to pass in direction. And yeah, you can also create a function that's not inside the contract, and you can use the function there. But again, similar to a Cairo contract or Starknet contract, it's just a bit of an extension onto it. But yeah, are there questions regarding Dojo here or on-chain game? I can show you other examples of other games, but I think we'll leave that one for like next week going over it. But yeah, I just wanted to see if there are any questions here. We can walk over it little by little. Please, which characters are used in VS Code? For VS Code, there's a Cairo extension there. Like if you just type Cairo, you should be able to find it. I'm going to open my cursor and see which one I use, but I rarely use cursor. Yeah, this is what I'm using. It was updated 20 in it was updated last month. I'm not sure why you asking this question. Are you having an issue with Dojo, Emmanuel? Okay, Emmanuel left the chat. But yeah, do you all have questions on Dojo? Since nobody's having questions, again, I just wanted to introduce Dojo to the group. I know it's a new concept. So try to kind of like go light. And next week I can show you all like games built on Dojo. We walk over the contract or even how to kind of like build an application with Dojo. But I wanted like a quick introduction. But I'm not getting any question. It seems like you all maybe understand it or lost. I'm not sure. Can someone give me feedback so I can know how it's going? Well, if there are no um, questions, I'm just going to show you the last slide and then I will call it a day. Second. Okay, so the last slide is just about the Dojo Game Jam. It's actually happening tomorrow, so today is the last day to sign up if you are interested. But again, it's okay if you're not really experienced in Dojo. It's encouraged that you all sign up if you want to kind of like get into on-chain gaming. You can meet other, game developers or like people like new to Dojo, but also veterans there. And you can test out your, skills there. This is a way to improve your skill, but also there's a opportunity to, get grants. But if you go into Game Jam, you start your idea, it will help you in kind of like building more things onto the Starknet ecosystem. You can potentially get a seed grant. You can get like, a growth grant if you keep on building the stuff. But yeah, I would encourage everybody that wants to kind of like build long term to look into this. And this is a good place to kind of like learn and level up your game development. on Starknet or fully on-chain game development. Aside from that, I mean, this is pretty much what I had for today's class, just an introduction to Dojo. And next week, we can go a bit more in depth. I just want to remind you all that, the class is coming to an end. Next week is the last one. You need to finish your Starknet if you've not finished it. Node Guardian is encouraged, and exercise them. That's if you want to kind of like, go deeper into the ecosystem.